Marriage is a social convenience. Let's not associate marriage with love because there are lots of other reasons that get people to get married.
Both the parties don't put in the effort to include the other person's needs, then it's going to be a little difficult.
Hello and welcome to Sisterhood with me, Shaili Chopra. Today, the question that we're asking on the show: why do women remain in sexless, loveless marriages? In India, nearly 70 to 80% marriages are pretty much people living together, not having a relationship, not being in love, not having pleasure, certainly not having mutual pleasure. So, we're asking the question: why do women choose to stay stuck in these marriages? Are they confusing compatibility with sex? Or they believe that their pleasure doesn't come first or doesn't get priority? Or do they prefer the life of convenience where they are married but seek interests, love, and other things outside of the marriage? Is it a marriage of convenience rather than one where mutual pleasure is given enough importance? In India, lots of issues emerge: societal, familial, and of course, individual. We break this down with three special guests on the show. I'll have Madhuri Banerjee, who's an author. She's a single mom who divorced some time ago. We try to understand how women put themselves first. We also have Dr. Tanaya, who is a gynecologist. She looks at many other aspects of sexuality and sex life of people. Madhuri, I'm going to start with you. You're a divorced woman, you're a single mom, you're independent, you're financially independent, you're a confident woman. But of course, society's judgments can weigh heavy on anybody, no matter how confident they are. How was your journey dealing with singlehood and, importantly, putting yourself first?
I got divorced about a decade ago when my child was about 2 or 3. So I think I realized pretty early on that this marriage wasn't working. And I'd been married for some time before I even had a child. But I kind of knew that this was not the relationship that I wanted, and both of us were very unhappy. And just, I think sometimes it's better to be happy separate than be unhappy forever together.
Now, you made a choice, but not everybody does that for fear of society, for fear of log kya kahenge. And also this sort of feeling that, if I'm in a marriage, may as well live through it. Who's going to deal with all the questions that come with it? How did you deal with that, and why did that fear not strike you?
See, I think there are three aspects to a marriage which were really important to me, and I think they're still important. One is effort, one is respect, and one is acknowledgement. So I think it's the era of a new marriage that is there. And I really feel that if both the parties don't put in the effort to include the other person's needs as their own, then it's going to be a little difficult.
Tanaya, according to one survey, 70 to 80% of marriages in India are sexless. What do you think is the genesis of this issue? Is it because people think that, marriage is institutional and it's not really about relationships, whether they're physical, whether they are emotional, and so on and so forth? Because if that were true, we would not have this figure.
I mean, aside from the societal stigma of, having to go through a breakdown of a marriage and having to choose to make that decision, aside from all of that, I think one of the hugest problems we have is there's such a huge lack of body literacy. We don't know anything about our own bodies. We're never educated in a formal sense about our own bodies, or even in an informal sense. Nowadays, because of the internet, so many people have so many more resources where at least the newer generation that's coming in has a better idea of, what pleasure is, if they should prioritize pleasure in their sex life, or, with their own, in their own sessions with their own self-love. But even without that, the previous generations have had no guidance at all. And these were such hush-hush topics that discussing anything feminine, even, you can't go out on the street and say the word vagina. It's going to be such a huge taboo. You can't go on a dinner table in an educated family setting and say vagina. You can't say vulva. You can't say clitoris. And because most of our perceptions of sexuality come from things like pornography, which again are not very realistic or even authentic for that matter, we have such a skewed idea of what sexuality is and what a healthy sex life should be, even in a committed partnership.
I am wondering, Tanaya, if this has a lot to do with women not having agency over their body, more importantly, not knowing their body. I mean, at She the People, we get DMs, I don't know how many, 1,000 a day, where women are talking about issues or asking about issues about their body, especially about their reproductive system. That's because there is a sense of ignorance about it. How much of that plays a role in this?
So on top of that, literacy is extremely important. But on top of that, I also think we need to actively advocate for it. A lot of times, even I have been brainwashed by media to lead me to believe that penetrative sex is the end all and be all of it, and this is what should make me have a happy time. But we don't advocate for it, and even if we do advocate for it, there's so many people who don't understand it. The partners don't understand it, so they come and question the authenticity of this claim, the veracity of this claim, which I think we need large-scale education, not just for women, but for everybody.
So there are many issues that come to fore, and there are many reasons why women may choose to be in sexless, loveless marriages. Here are some reasons that I'm going to raise. One, the belief that sexual gratification is not important in a marriage. Lots of people don't discuss sexual satisfaction and therefore remain dissatisfied. Sex was never good, so there's nothing to miss. That's also another presumption, especially for those who've not had an opportunity to experience pleasure like many others. Like I said at the start of the show, living a parallel life outside of marriage is another potential reason. Feeling responsible for lack of sex in a marriage tends to come on women, and then sort of they curve into a shell and they don't want to think about talking about their demands, agency, pleasure. And also, I guess one more question that must be raised is constantly this thing that women give far more importance to the other person's sexual pleasure than they own, just like a man's orgasm becomes far more important than anybody. So Madhuri, the question then comes to this: how important is understanding your own sexual agency before you even enter a marriage?
It is generally about women and their emotions. Nobody is just hopping from like one person to the other person easily. They are doing so because of a emotional disconnection with their partner before they go off to do something. And to even understand this female sexuality, I've been writing about how it is so important to understand not just your needs and desires, but to be able to advocate it for others as well, and say that it's okay, it's perfectly fine, to have all of this.
Tanaya, this perception that love, sex, lust are all interchangeably used, especially in the context of marriage. Perhaps they're very different, and the more we recognize they're different, could we be rethinking the institution of marriage?
I think it's very important that we do recognize that all sexual relationships are not built on the foundation of a romantic relationship, particularly in the day and age of, casual sex. There's a lot of pressure that maybe this sexual experience is not authentic because it's not built on love. Maybe I'm a slut if I'm not, pursuing this out of the feeling of love. So sexuality and emotions extremely intertwined, yes. But I think it's more the relationship with yourself that's important, as opposed to putting all of that pressure on the relationship with your partner, be it a casual sexual partner.
What about this sense of fear that a man's orgasm is far more important than a woman's? Is that part of why marriages are suffering on their sexual quotient, because women are not able to stand up for their own pleasure?
I just feel that most of the women their one motto in life is let's keep peace in the house, right? So it's more like if there's some sort of like friction, whether it is verbal friction or even in the bedroom, the friction, they're just like, let's get this over and done with. And it's never, so it's about like, they don't want the power. We as feminists speak so much about owning your power and empowerment and, finding yourself continuously. They are really happy. Most of the women are really happy because they don't understand this power. They are like, I would rather just have peace and happiness in my life, and that's all I'm looking for.
Tanaya, any other thoughts on how women need to look at marriages differently?
So healthy sex life is fulfilling at large in general for you as a person. So yes, there are very good relationships between lower stress levels, healthier hearts with more orgasms. So of course, orgasms are wonderful. Having said that, I think we're still coming to terms with our own sexuality because we've had such a huge service done to us forever, essentially, because orgasms have never been prioritized. We've never been told you can have an orgasm in sex. Yeah, I think, of course, we are becoming more and more, aggressive with claiming our own pleasure and asking for it, which I think is wonderful. But there's a long way to go for us to get to a place where we can prioritize pleasure for the female in the bedroom and make that the common goal.
Thank you, Madhuri and Tanaya, for joining us. I'm now going to move to another guest, Pallavi Baranwal, who's authored a book about pleasure. And she talks about various aspects of it in a way that we often don't think about. Pallavi, thanks so much for joining us. In India, the word sex is around shame. People don't like to talk about it. It's almost taboo. And particularly women would never be seen talking about it in sort of a way of having a right of it. Why did you decide to write a book on the issue?
In a country where people, I don't know, I would not even say they think twice. It is a complete no-no. Like talking about sex is a complete no-no. When I remember about my earliest memories, I remember the channel being flipped if there is a scene comes in, or then the lights went off, and I was like, okay, what happened after the lights went off? And at the same time, I was entering my adolescence, and I had those crushes on my teachers, on my classmates, and I didn't know what to do. I know that you are not supposed to talk about it. And that led to a lot of problems in my own life, where, heartbreaks, or even like broken relationships, casual sex, friendships gone awry. So there is a lot of problems that I face personally. And when I looked around, I saw the same thing was happening.
There's this constant conversation about how sex is a bad word, but it's pretty clearly proven that surveys after surveys, Indians are having it, and lots of it. So then why this stigma attached to this conversation? What has your research shown?
I think we have linked sex with not pleasure, but sex with morality. Even married couples, I get, because I run this platform on pleasure, I get a lot of stories, and they say, if you are staying with in-laws, there are always these prying eyes on you. So you really can't hold hands, or you can't hug as a married couple. I mean, when a sanctioned relationship is like, you can't really express your physical affection. I'm not, most of the people, when they think of the word sex, they think this is what sex is. But sex is more than this. Sex is more than a penetration. Sex is about pleasure. Sex is about persona. Sex is about identity. We hardly talk about in those terms. So this is a porn-educated patriarchal country, and porn tells that sex is this. And so no wonder that people get ashamed about it. But if we, a lot of my work involves in bringing Kama Sutra. And when you read Kama Sutra, it is a completely elevated experience of sexuality. Like they talk about pleasure, they talk about desire, they talk about arousal, they talk about experience, refinement, grace. So if we are able to broaden our thinking, I don't think that this shame will last for a long time.
In India, are people using marriage as a license for sex? Is that what it is?
Yes, even because you don't even know, are you sexually compatible with each other? Is there a difference between libidos? A lot of times I get stories where men complain that their wife has stopped having interest in sex after becoming a mother. Because again, sex is associated, the only reason sex is being kind of accepted is because it's procreative role. It is never seen as a recreational. So now the baby making is over. I think my only reason to have sex with my husband, I'm done with, so I'm not interested. Marriage is a social convenience. Let's not associate marriage with love, because there are lots of other reasons that get people to get married. Social recognition, security, financial security, comfort. So not just linking marriage with sex and love. Yes, marriage gives you to stay in in a society without, someone poking you.
So you've got a perspective from three different aspects: a doc, a person who's been through a marriage that was not ideal, and from somebody who sees this from a third party point of view, having spoken to so many women about living, suffering, loveless, sexless marriages. And while we're on this issue, here's a look at what others are saying.
In our society, sex, I think, is something which is still quite hush hush. It's still quite a subject of, it's not seen as a happy thing. It's not seen as, let's have happy sex and there's happy sexuality, and it's not considered a very positive thing. It's still got shades of, I don't know the word for it, but shame attached to it. And so then if you're a mother, so then it's seen as, oh my God, she's a mother, how can she do this? I mean, like, so what happens to a mother? Does she stop wanting to have sex? I don't think so. So those are the kind of reasons that I feel that goes south as a conversation. But I think it's changing. I think that aspect is rapidly changing. I don't think millennials are really interested in sort of talking about sex in that very, oh my God, it's so hush hush sort of thing. It's like another thing that human beings do, and leave it at that.
I don't use the terms loveless, sexless interchangeably. Anybody stuck in either of them has similar issues, similar reasons to believe that they need to be getting out of a marriage like that. Well, stay tuned to She the People and to Sisterhood as we discuss some of the most uncomfortable subjects that our society would rather put under the carpet than bring them onto the platform and talk about it in our face. We all are here to get uncomfortable and then get comfortable in our own skin by talking about issues that matter the most to each one of us. Stay tuned to Sisterhood every Friday, and remember to subscribe by clicking that bell icon on your screen.